Hey there, greetings, salutations.
Hi, everybody.
Good to be with you again, Dane Scott. This is going to be a fun one, especially if you like microphones. We're going to talk about some of the mics I've used during my career in radio and voiceover and give you some of my impressions about them. Basically, just kind of geek out about mics. It's going to be fun. I'll also tell you about the one I've landed on as being my favorite for doing voiceovers. It's all next. A total microphone geek out session this time on Studio Takes. Stick around for it coming up next. And first, just let me mention about the group it's probably one of my favorite groups that I've started on Facebook. And it's one that's especially for people who are doing voiceover and are involved in marketing themselves on either Fiverr or Upwork or both. And elsewhere, too. We're not that limiting. So, we just talk about voiceover in general, and then we also talk about marketing on those two platforms. And just a great group. We've got over 1,000 people. Would love to join, have you join the party and meet Lizzie the Lounge Lizard, our official mascot, and join the conversation. Whether you're brand new or you have great experience, you'll be in good company because there are many very experienced people and many very new people that are a part of the group, and nobody should feel like any question they ask is too simple of a question or too basic. You'll be treated with the greatest of kindness and courtesy and helpfulness, so come on over and join us. It's the Fiverr and Upwork Voiceover Lounge. It's just a free group that you can come on in and join and meet Lizzie the Lounge Lizard.
And like it or not, we're going to be one big happy family.
There's no escaping it. All right, so now let's move on to our subject du jour, and here we go. Geek out session on microphones today. What you're seeing is not just a collage of mics. What you're seeing are mics that I've used over the years. And, when I stopped and really began thinking about it, I was surprised at how many different mics came to mind, and I'm sure that I'm not, hitting on all of them. But I wanted to at least cover some of them that have special memories for me or which I have comments about in terms of their quality. And I'm going to go through them in no particular order here. We're just going to kind of pick and choose across the list. So in the upper left corner, let's look at that one first. This is the MD421 mic. It's a classic stage mic, but also has been used quite a bit for music production because it can stand really high sound pressure levels, meaning lots of loud, punchy, high decibel noise. So it's great for example, miking drums, like miking the kick drum in a drum set. But it also is used for vocals. You'll see it on stage used for public address mics, and you'll also see it in studios for recording, and some voiceover people actually use it too. I used it to record a syndicated program that I did back in the 80s and 90s called Nightlight, and which was broadcast around the U.S. and down in the Caribbean. And it was 100% done with voiceover through this mic here, the MD421, which was recommended to me by an engineer at WLS Chicago. I really didn't know what mic to choose, but I wanted something that was going to be affordable and yet high quality. And so I actually thought, okay, I'll call a big radio station and I'll ask their chief engineer. And this is the one he recommended for me. It was the MD421. That's kind of interesting background, huh? Another one of the classic broadcast mics is down here. This one right here. That is the Electro RE20. And this one is a industry standard. A lot of the talk show hosts that you hear on radio, a lot of the DJs that you hear on radio are talking into an RE20. They have kind of a boomy sound. They sound impressive. They're not exactly a reliable, flat reproduction of your voice, but they're a heavy-duty, heavy studio mic, which it's got a cool look to it, and it's great for a broadcast purpose, and actually probably would be good in podcasts too, but they're not cheap. An RE20 costs some money. But it's a very nice mic. Now, after the MD421, which I was never completely satisfied with, it had a little bit of a kind of a dullness to it that I couldn't quite get past. For my own voice, it just didn't work. So then I got this one down here in the lower left corner, which is kind of an updated sister to the Electro RE20. This one's the Electro RE27 ND, which has more brightness, more high end, which my voice needs because my voice tends to be smooth, warm, somewhat dark, not a lot of overtones. I needed something that would kind of get a little more grit, would bring out more of the bright high end of the voice. So I got this one, and it did help. It brought in more of the high end of the voice. But by the early 2000s, it really kind of dawned on me that this one also was still a little too boomy sounding. These are all dynamic microphones. And so I'll continue with my microphone journey as far as the ones I used in the studio coming up. But right now I want to just kind of go in some other directions here. When I have been on stage playing in bands and doing public address and so forth, there have been a variety of mics that I have had the opportunity to work with over the years. This one right here, this very simple-looking microphone, second from the far left at the bottom, is the Electro Voice 635A, which was a classic interview mic. It was used a lot with portable recording equipment when you'd go out in the field to do interviews. Part of the reason was you could almost not break it no matter what you did. They used to joke that you could drive nails with the thing. They had reasonably good sound. They were not fabulous sounding mics, but they were clean, and they were actually even used in broadcast studios, in lower budget broadcast studios, the 635A. And you probably have seen them if you've worked with mics for any period of time. Speaking of classics, here's one right here. Actually traveled in a band where we used nothing but these, the Shure SM150 or SM58 mic. These things are, again, extremely sturdy mics. They have very good reproduction, and one of the big benefits of this microphone is it has a great rejection of feedback. So, live public address situation, it gives you a fighting chance against feedback into the speakers. And they have very crisp, clean sound. They're great for singing, reproduction, and quite a few people actually use them for voiceovers. They are a dynamic mic as well. For my own voice, again, still not enough brightness. Here's one up here. It's just a cheapie. It's the AKG D1000E. Was used a lot at radio stations, and I think it was at least one, well, more than one station that I was at. They have an interesting look, and I think they were pretty common. I don't know that they're even made anymore, but I went and found a picture of one because they bring back memories of doing live shows on the radio. Next down here, this one. This is one of the true loves of my life, this microphone. I never owned one, but I traveled to studios that used them, and one in particular, and I came to fall in love with the sound of it. It was big. It's even bigger than you can imagine. One end of it was this big around. It was huge. It was like, can I even get big enough? I can't get it all in. No, I mean, it was like this big. Huge microphone. And it had, pop filtering all the way around on both ends. It was like a big, really fat vitamin capsule that you'd never want to try and swallow. The Shure SM5B was the name of this one. And that one had beautiful sound. And it was one of the few mics that I ever heard my voice through where I went, oh, that's nice. That one works with my voice. And it, unfortunately, I don't believe they're made anymore. It's considered just a vintage mic at this point. Sure ought to just definitely get back on the rails with this one. And this was a great mic, and they should really be still having it. This one down here is one of the most interesting looking mics. It was designed kind of like a long shotgun, the Sennheiser Md 441. And I used this at a studio, at a broadcast studio. We actually used it for broadcast for a while in our main DJ room. I wasn't crazy about the sound of it. It wasn't good with my voice at any rate. It sounded like I was talking into some... it just sounded trashy or harsh to me. It wasn't great with my voice. That is not to say it wouldn't be great with someone else's voice, and clearly that mic was used, it was, as they say, ubiquitous. It was used all over the place, so, you can't judge by me on that, but I wasn't thrilled with that one, though I thought the form factor was really interesting on that. Up here, we have the SE 2200, and there was also, I think, the SE 2000. This is... most of the ones we've been talking about so far are all dynamic mics. Matter of fact, all of the ones on this side and this one down here and this one here, all dynamic mics. This one also, or I should say now we're departing from that. This one is a condenser mic. And this is the first condenser mic I ever had in my studio. Before we get to that one, though, let me go down here to the lower right and point out this Heil. This was the very first mic that I had that approached condenser-ish sound. The Heil Pr40 is a wonderful mic. And if you're doing podcasts, again, this would be probably a really good choice if you've got some money to spend. It's a beautifully engineered microphone. It's also gorgeous. I love the look of it. And it came in a really nice wooden box, and it was just classy. So I liked that microphone. Ultimately, even though the way it's built is as a dynamic mic that sounds like a condenser, it still just did not have enough bright high end for my voice. So I had to move on. And so the next one that I got then was this one here. This is the SE2200, which is also a very handsome microphone. It's large. It's as big as like the RE20 or the RE27ND. It's a big, heavy-duty mic. And I immediately could tell the difference. And I thought that my voice was better through that because it was starting to bring out more of the brightness in my voice. I still didn't feel like I had hit absolutely target-on bullseye for my voice with that one. But it's a great studio mic. As a matter of fact, it's the #1 most popular mic in recording studios in Great Britain. That's interesting, huh? Now this one here, this is another stage mic. This is it's seen all over the place. And at our church, we used these for the singers, and they sounded fabulous through them. They're great for any kind of a situation where you've got public address. And they have a nice, crisp, clean, bright sound, and they also reject feedback. That's the AKG P5i, I think. Here's one that's fairly commonly used in both broadcast and in voiceover, the SM7 and the SM7B, and the various flavors of that series. Another very handsome mic, and it's definitely designed for overhead or underhead mounting. It's not one that you'd mount from the side, for example, as easily, because you can see the way this horseshoe fits on it. It wouldn't allow for that. It is considered to be a well-engineered, well-designed microphone. It is warm. It is not a condenser. It's a dynamic mic, and it has a certain kind of warmth to it that is great with some voices. It was way too warm for my voice, way too warm. But I did use that. Actually, there was one large fire protection company that had their own studio, and they used the SM7 in there. So when I would go and record at their studio, I was talking into an SM7. My very first radio job was at a little radio station in Ironwood, Michigan, and they had one of these beautiful classic old RCA 77s. I don't know if it was a 77 or a 77B or just exactly, again, what flavor of 77 it was. But it was a microphone that I did not appreciate what I was using at the time. I was just a kid. But I think about it now, it was really quite an honor and a privilege to be able to work off of, at my very first radio job, one of these wonderful classic old RCA 77s. It is symbolic of what you see in a lot of icons and representations of microphones to this day. A lot of the little icons are shaped like the vitamin pill, like that, or like a corn cob kind of a shape. And they were a good mic, for their time. They were a great mic. Of course, they would sound a little dull by today's standards when we're used to hearing mics that have a little more clarity and brilliancy. Let me also skip back over here. I missed this one. This is the Shure 55SH. And the Shure 55SH is really a classic microphone. As you probably can remember, if you've ever seen these in use, they were very popular for public address microphones, and it's also considered or called the Elvis Mic because it was one that was an icon of what Elvis would perform with, and he'd have it on that stand, and then he'd hold on to the stand and he'd sing into it, lean into it. And so that's the 55SH. A couple more here. The Shure 666, how's that for a name for a microphone? As you can see, it not only has one of the most dubious names, but it also is probably one of the ugliest mics you'll ever see. But it was a highly respected microphone for broadcast, especially many years ago. And to this day, it's still considered kind of a classic vintage design. You can see it has almost a kind of an Art Deco look to the base of it. But look at that lumpy, weird shape. Part of that was for engineering purposes. There was quite a bit of science that went into the designing of the ports and the layout. You know, where the sound comes in, where the sound goes out, and so forth, was all rather carefully considered on that microphone. And so despite its age and its ugliness and the dubious name, it really is a highly respected microphone from the era that it was in. Here's one that I did a review on recently. It's sitting on the shelf over here. I still have it, and that's the Fifine K670. That is my backup to my main microphone, and it is, as far as I'm concerned, a very respectable, inexpensive mic. It's under $50, and I wouldn't hesitate to plug it in and do voiceovers right now if I had a problem with my main mic. What have I missed? I think I've covered all of the ones except for the one in the middle, and there's a reason for that, because this is the one that I want to tell you about last. This is the one that I went into a studio in Green Bay, Wisconsin, and I've told this story before, so if you've heard it before, just you can kind of just skip over this part or just listen again. But when I was at the studio, I had done a recording in there, and then I stepped out of their isolation booth and into the main room. They were playing back the recording, and my jaw dropped. It was like, whoa, I've never heard my voice sound that good. What is that? And he said, that is a Neumann. And I had only one reaction right away.
I gotta get me one of those.
I did. So I did. Not right at first. You know, I started out, as I've mentioned, I've worked my way up through microphones. And so it was not a situation where the very first mic I bought was a really expensive microphone. But there came a stage where I was doing enough with voiceover that I could justify, you know, $1,000 idea for a microphone. And so I purchased the Neumann TLM 103, which is kind of the little brother to the one that I used in that studio. But the engineering, the design, the electronics, the circuitry, the technology of it is essentially identical to that microphone, with the exception that there aren't like different positions for other microphone patterns. It has one pattern that it uses for everything, and it's been fine. So when I ordered that, brought it in, and recorded with it, it definitely was absolutely what I needed. It was absolutely...
Looks like love at first sight.
It was. It was just love at first sight. So that's the one that I wound up with. And so there's a roundup just for fun on a weekend here of some microphones that I've enjoyed over the years, that I've had the privilege of working with. And in a future Studio Takes, I'm going to be talking about what microphones might be good for you and how to decide which microphone is going to be a good choice for your situation. So join me for that in a future Studio Take. Be sure to like the page here and click the little bell so that you are subscribed and follow the action, because we'll be having lots more interesting information and hopefully helpful information coming up. Thanks. Talk to you next time.
You give me a call.
Hello.
Hello?
Hello, I think.
Hello, cutie pie.
Until I heard the voice, I'd never done a crazy thing in my whole life.
Goodbye.